Welcome to another edition of Democracy and the Rule of Law, a show where we dive deep into the critical issues of law, politics, and governance. In today's episode, we'll be looking at the designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern by President Donald Trump. Of course, that have generated a lot of issue in the polity. The president of America have cited issue of religious violence and of course the complicity of the government in fishing out the perpetrator of this heinous crime. He has threatened and instructed the Department of War in the US to prepare for possible action. And of course, the possible action that he has muted involves sending intervention to Nigeria and even stopping most of the aid that are currently going on in Nigeria. So we'll look at this issue. We'll look at the issue concerned regarding the sovereignty of Nigeria. So many legal commentators have analyzed that the U.S. intervention in Nigeria domestic affair is a breach of its sovereignty. So we'll look at this issue and also look at the issue of the recent concluded Anambra State election. We'll look at the matters arising in that election. We'll look at the issue of vote buying. I will look at the issue of voters turnout in that particular election. We have our guests who are already seated in the studio this evening to help us make sense of these two very important issues. We will go on a short break, and when we return, we'll introduce our guests. Stay tuned. We'll be back very shortly. Just joining us, you are on to your favorite program, Democracy on the Rule of Law. With me on the show this evening is Barrister Obiora Ume. Barrister Obiora, welcome you to the show this evening.
Thank you very much, and a very good evening to our esteemed viewers out there.
And also with me is Barrister Janakola Iwaju. Barrister, welcome you to the show. It's nice having you again after such a long while.
Thank you very much. The pleasure of being here is mine.
All right. So without much ado, we'll just move into the nitty-gritty of today's discussion.
Yes.
Of course, the designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern, CPC, has generated a lot of concern amongst various quarters in Nigeria.
Yes.
So what do you have to say, and why do you think that that designation is appropriate or not for a country like Nigeria?
Thank you very much. Your question has to do with the designation per se. Yes. Donald Trump, the president of America, has declared Nigeria a country of particular concern, and he hinged it on alleged genocide against Christians in Nigeria, and is of the opinion that Christians in Nigeria faces existential threats. The possibility that Christians in Nigeria may be wiped out. And on that basis, he has given instructions that his military men should be ready at his latest prompting or instructions to take military action against those who are trying to wipe up Christians in Nigeria. Now, personally, I don't think that his conclusion is absolutely right in terms of the people who are the victims of this onslaught. We as Nigerians, we know that terrorists, bandits, Boko Haram, the rest of them have been unleashing, undeserved, oppression, death, extermination on both Christians and Muslims, and even non-Christians and Muslims alike. A lot of people have been killed, kidnapped, maimed over the years. And then that call to me is important. It's a wake-up call for some reasons. Number one, we know that America as a nation, under their constitution, the constitution gives the president the powers to intervene in foreign affairs of other countries where human rights are being violated, where American interest is at stake, and then oversight functions and so on. But then when they do these things, the president still needs the confirmation of the American Congress. But the area I think is of concern to Nigerians and to the world at large is that when he made that threat. Here in Nigeria, we had divided opinion. So we are hailing him, say, thank God, let it be now. Let him not delay it. Others are saying, no, for purposes of international sovereignty, that Nigeria as a nation does not need invasion by America to deal with her internal affairs. Of course, we know from the benefit of hindsight that America has intervened militarily in other countries of the world, Iraq and other countries. But then, why I believe it's important for us to look at this in holistically and come to a conclusion is that every Nigerian knows that the government is not doing enough to combat terrorism.
Yeah, because Trump specifically mentioned that the government is complicit in the issue in the fight against
that's where I'm coming to. That's where I'm coming to. That the government is doing enough in the fight against terrorism. And as humans, human beings have right to life. And the major responsibility of government is to guarantee life and property of her citizens. Now that the terrorists have been killing people, both Christians and non-Christians, what I believe is that it's necessary for our government via the angle of, diplomatic relations, allow Nigerian military and American military to join forces, and maybe those of other countries that may be interested, because one thing is clear. The current fight against terrorism is not enough. It has continued unabated, and even till yesterday. So America has the technology. They have the manpower.
All right, you feel that they should intervene?
They should intervene, but they should in collaboration and with the Nigerian military forces.
All right. So, Barrister Ajanaku, what is your opinion on this designation of Nigeria? And do you believe that there is a religious genocide in Nigeria, as has been alleged by the President of America?
Thank you very much. You see, America is not Nigeria. The values we have in Nigeria is not on the same pedestal values they have for life. That aside, Nigeria as a country is sovereign in status and cannot be declared is a country of particular concern, basically because perhaps somebody or a group of people wrote to the Congress to say, please intervene in our situation and ensure that you fight our cause for us. Well, it's fine. They made such applications. But one thing that is to be reckoned with is that the President Donald Trump should not make such sweeping statements. I beg to say that will I say it's loose? Will I say such statement was made with reckless abandon, looking at us as inferior? I wouldn't expect a president without any collaboration or any effort made in any regard to assist Nigeria in any form to just go to the media and lambast us in the face of the world. That I do not take lightly.
Yeah, don't you believe that there are religious motivated killing in Nigeria? Because that seems to be the genesis of the designation by Donald Trump.
Yes, I don't want to buy the idea of the script being played by a segment of the country to say, look, it's not just Christians that have been killed all over now, not all over Nigeria, and not that particular segment in the north that we are talking about. People are saying that's genocide indeed, and there are killings all over the country now. whether Muslim, traditionalists, Christians, atheists, or whatever you can say they are. You see, what we should know for sure is that the government has failed in ensuring there is proper security for people of this country. That's failure on their part. Now, the moment the president brought out this and this information and tagging of our country as a CPC country, they woke up. They're not saying, I heard, I was the chief of staff or chief of army staff that was not giving command to the military to go into where these terrorists in quotes are, I say terrorists in quotes, to ensure they are flushed out.
Yeah, but
what have they been doing over
there? Yeah, but Barrister, because we need to deal with the issue from the root cause, right? The Trump concern was that there is there is a plan, by a sect to exterminate or eliminate, and that a particular religion. And we have seen example. We saw the Owo church massacre. Right, we saw the Yelewata killing, we saw the Yelewata in Benue, where families were born, which were majorly Christian-dominated areas. We have seen so many villages in the Middle Belt that were sacked, and it has been tagged as herders, farmers, clashes, and so many people have been rendered IPDP, and the US said they have intelligence on all of this. In fact, they gave specific number. They said about 3,000 Christians have been killed in Nigeria, and when you compare it all over the world, they say we have 4,000 all over the world, and Nigeria alone have 3,000. So you could see that Nigeria has almost 80% of the total killing Christians around the world, and that is why he termed it as a genocide against Christian, and that's why he's seeking to intervene.
So I'm sorry, I understand what you are saying. Everybody in this country condemned the killings in Benue, because it was not just the issue of going after Christians.
Not just Benue, Kaduna, a lot of places.
Let me limit, because that was where we have the majority of the killings in Benue. We saw where video clips where people were running helter-skelter, where some ran into the bush, and even in the bush, some were even killed where they were hiding and all that. But I am saying, you see, there are underlying factors that we don't know. We had at a point in time, whether it is true or not, I don't know, that the land of Benue has even been sold. So who bought? We are seeing we have certain specific interests who will never allow peace to reign in this segment. My query is this. This government knows them. What has the government done to nip their acts in the bud? Nothing. So, in this wise, but let me say that President Trump gave a threat. It was a threat, but he now put a caveat. He said, if in everything, he said, if we will do this, we'll come to Nigeria, we'll escalate, we'll do that, we'll bombard those areas, we'll free them out. If
the government fails to act.
Now, the government is quickly acting now.
Well,
they're taking it upon themselves to quickly act.
Well, we are yet to, of course, now that they're acting at the behest of Trump. Yes. I think it will now be...
It's a good wake-up call.
It is a wake-up call, you will say. Yeah.
But then,
only that I don't ascribe to Trump saying, no, you have to collaborate with people, though they will try as much as possible to thwart the efforts being made.
But you've said that the government is complicit. Would they collaborate with the same government that you have said that is complicit in this killing?
Now, in this one, you see, they have come up to show Nigerians that we are ready to work. We are ready. It is now that they have brought up that toga.
I think it's Trump that will determine whether they are working now, because he's the one that actually...
He cannot determine whether they are working or not. He's not to determine.
If you look at it...
We have the parameters we can also examine.
If you look at it...
We can put them on the
If
scale.
we look at it holistically, once again, we saw that the fight against terrorism has not succeeded at all.
Because they are not taking the fight to them.
Now, it is now that Donald Trump has now beamed a searchlight on Nigeria as a nation.
Yes.
And they have their records showing that Christians have been targets of planned extermination in some instances. And they have their records. Even they have the records of the sponsors of these terrorists. They have the records, the names of those terrorists.
Nigeria also has a record, but unfortunately, we don't have. We have the wherewithal, but we have the willpower.
So if Nigeria has lacked the willpower, the sanctity of human life, doesn't it supersede the need to say Nigeria is independent?
It's unfortunate the people we have at the helm of affairs. We've had records right from the time when Ibrahim, what do you call it? This man, the last one that just left, this head of state.
Is it Buhari?
Buhari.
Okay.
They've had the record even while he was there.
So if
nothing was done.
So if they are refusing to act, shouldn't this drop?
So he now, our president, I'm not speaking for him, but I feel that, they had records. We have key officers and key political figures from the north who had this report, who were in positions to execute him, refusing to do it. So why would I now? I'm saying, I'm putting it and saying, like, look, just thinking.
Because we are almost out of time for this topic.
Yes.
Now that they are acting on the behest of the U.S. president, doesn't it mean that, of course, because Nigeria have been crying so much for them to act for a long while and they fail to act. Now they're acting because Donald Trump is saying they should act. So doesn't it imply that it's Donald Trump that will determine if indeed they are
the actions are sufficient?
Exactly.
I agree with that. And again, what I think is the way forward is this. Our military cannot completely tackle the insecurity. Let us not deceive ourselves. And one man said that every man's death diminishes him because he belongs to humanity. The way that Nigerians have been seeing people killed every day in thousands, it is enough to make in civilized countries their leaders to resign. But in Nigeria and Africa, that is the last thing anybody can contemplate. What I think is the way forward is, let our government, through the military officers, liaise with those of America. Let them come. And when they come, let them be given the free hand in collaboration with Nigerian military officers and security personnel to tackle this menace once and for all, and let it not be like the previous one.
Well, they believe that Nigerian military is compromised, and I'm sure
that is the point I want to make,
that is going to do precise strike.
Yes, that is the next thing I want to say, because I said let it not be like the previous one, because the previous one, when they came, they saw that there was sabotage. The American military officers, they planned to execute their action plan. And only to learn that their information would lead to the terrorists.
All right, so we are almost
they withdrew.
We are out of time for this.
They are not sure that there will be sincerity.
They should act alone.
Let them act alone. The important thing that
they should act alone. That's your opinion.
They can hold back some of the information they have, or they will unleash whatever they want.
All right, that is where we stop. That is where we stop on this terrorists. That is where we stop on
killing Nigerians.
On this topic. We do not have further time because we've seen it.
There's an important topic.
Yeah, we've seen it. Look at the
security of Nigeria.
Second topic. We'll go on a very short break, and when we return, we'll look at the issue concerning the election, governorship election in Anambra State. So stay tuned. We'll be back very shortly.
Declaring the results on Sunday morning at about few minutes past 8 a.m., the INEC returning officer for the Anambra governorship election and vice chancellor of the University of Benin, Professor Edoba Morigi, said Professor Soluti scored the highest number of votes among the 16 candidates who participated in the election.
I, Professor Edoba Bright Omorige, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Vice Chancellor, University of Benin, thereby certify that I am the returning officer the 2025 Anambra State governorship election held on the 8th day of November 2025. I also certify that the election was contested and that the winner emerged. The candidate with the highest number of votes cast and percentage have all been completed. I therefore declare that Soludo Charles Chukwuma of the APGA, I will satisfy the requirement of the law and score the highest number of votes in this election, is hereby declared the winner and return election.
Some observers who spoke after the declaration frowned over cases of vote buying in Anambra governorship election, which according to them is not good for Nigeria's democracy.
Well, the process itself cannot really be faulted, but the engagement of the voters is shoddy, is monetized, and as such, it does not reflect the true wishes of the voters. And if we continue like this, we are one day going to elect a terrorist as the president of Nigeria. Because when people are impoverished to the extent that they are collecting 100, 200, 300, 500 naira to vote with evidences. We observed several polling units in this town, in this state. And I can tell you that this is not the country, this is not the electoral process that we are waiting for.
And the vote buying issue, I would say that they need to make an amendment, even though I didn't witness any as an observer. So I won't say for a fact that I'm very akin or in sync with the vote buying narrative. I don't know about that. But if it happened, they should work on it. There shouldn't be vote buying in our elections.
The declaration of Professor Charles Soludo of the Progressive Grants Alliance AGA as the winner of the Anambra gubernatorial election in November 8 has put to rest the months of politicking across the state, as Professor Charles Soludo champions the cause of the state in the next 4 years. From the INEC headquarters in Amobia, Anambra State, Daily Fast reporting for Galaxy TV News. Declaring the result on Sunday morning.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're on to your favorite program, Democracy and the Rule of Law. We just finished discussing the issue regarding Trump designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern,
yes,
and of course the threat to invade Nigeria with U.S. military. So we'll go into the issue concerning the Anambra State election. It has come and gone, and Professor Chukwuma Soludo was returned as the governor elect of Anambra State.
Yes.
And of course, there have been a lot of issues, just like we always have in Nigerian election.
Yeah.
But then, perhaps we'll look at the positive. You know, we've not heard of any recorded death. In fact, the observation was that the election was largely peaceful and properly coordinated.
Well,
where we have a lot of some concern where the issue of vote buying, which have continued to persist. Low turnout of voters. Because we have a total number of accredited voters, about 500,000 plus. Whereas
95 to 98.
Right. Whereas we have more than 2.8 registered, 2.8 million registered voters in Anambra State. So, of course, what that means is that we had less than 40% turnout of voters in the election, which is low, of course, which is very, very low. You know, you could imagine when you have, out of 100, you're having just 40%. That is below past mark. So that continues to be an issue. So what is your take on the election generally?
Well, what I say in the Anambra State election, governmental election just concluded, is that it has come and gone. And I was able to speak with one of the observers of the election. He came up with the conclusion that the election was transparent, it was free and fair. However, he said that concerning the issue of vote buying, it was minimal, and that he went around the places he covered and was able to come to the conclusion that he will give INEC a pass mark in that context. But then, if we were to look at it very well, before the election, the new INEC chairman assured Nigerians there was going to be zero tolerance for vote buying. However, I heard on the news yesterday that EFCC arrested 3 persons in connection with vote buying, and that once investigation is concluded, they will be charged to court. If only 3 persons were arrested, it was actually minimal. However, the area of concern is the number of people that participated in the election. In Anambra State, having 21 local governments, and with 2,788,800 registered voters, barely only 598,229 actually were credited, and the people that even voted 595,000 plus, that is not good enough. It means that the man who is now in charge of the affairs, Professor Amopiton, SAN, still has a lot to do in terms of making Nigerians to wake up from voter apathy. He has to do with his men to let people know that their votes will count this time. Because in the past, the impression that Nigerians have had is that whether they vote or they don't vote, that their votes may not count. And for that reason, a lot of people decided no longer to risk their lives or waste their time in going to vote during elections. It's important because if you look at it, out of 2.7 plus, almost 2.8, only 500,000, which is about 1/5 of the total number of registered voters. Even then, the population of Anambra State is so much that only 2.8 registering is a far cry. So, the current INEC chairman still needs to go down the drawing board and ensure that in subsequent elections, more people get involved, because having peaceful handover through credible election is one of the pillars of democracy and rule of law. When the people are given the opportunity to decide who their president, their governor, and those in elected positions should be, that is what the people ought to be given the opportunity to do. And because of what had happened in the past, some no longer want to get involved. But
so you feel that the INEC chairman still has a lot of work to do?
It still has a lot of work to do.
All right. Barrister Olarewaju, what is your take on the election? Of course, it has come and gone.
You see, this election, we want to be likened to the 1993 election of MKO Abiola, where all over the country, I'm putting on a larger scale, all over the country, almost all the ethnic groups voted for him. That time, there was enlightenment. That time, there was no apathy. That time, voter education was high. And that time, there was security. You see, the feelings that showed in the election in Anambra yesterday were those things that were present in 1993 during the presidential election between Ibrahim Tofa and Moshood M.K. Abiola at that time. Here, I just mentioned, there was apathy. 2, there was low voter turnout. 3, there was no voter education. 4, people, some, I won't say they were disenfranchised, but had no more interest because of security. If you remember.
Because of security?
Insecurity. I'll say that. Over time, it has been a boiling point. We had security issues had arisen over time. And people have said, oh, Sarai, whatever will be. Whether they come out to vote or not, whoever will be the president, the governor will be the governor. So that's why that's why I'm saying that, look, people have that apathy to come out to do anything. That they know how they arrange themselves. And then one major thing, it wasn't a major thing, but it was slight, or 2 things that were slight. 1, the ratio of people who came out was just about 1.75 into 5. Just about 1.75 into 5 to 5. Very low. Not average at all. And then I'm not saying that people are looking for means of quickly getting something to fill their tummy. Stomach, infrastructure.
Are you justifying vote buying?
I am not. But people have been told over time that please run away from things like this. Ensure you vote whoever you want to. Don't be induced by money. How much is mobs? How much is how long will 1,000 naira last you? You gulp down the mobs and that's it. 1,000 naira will not even buy you one. What will they buy? Is it bongo of Gary or so? So we need to educate our people. We need to let our people, our mothers, most especially, know that this is not the time, because we don't address these issues now. The 2026 election, 2027 election is coming. It's so close. We think it's far away, but it's so close. People, if you don't dissuade people from looking at money over their conscience, won't make progress. But if you begin now, with the benefit of hindsight of what we have seen that occurred even yesterday, just for peanuts, we should be able to be ready and able to address for the populace that things like this should not be taken because of for what will be their
So future. You believe you generally you give the new INEC chairman a pass mark?
I will. I'll give him a pass mark. He did well. Only he can still do more. You can never get 100%, but in all, I would say at least he got 80%.
All right. Yes. So what do you think is the way forward? Because voters' apathy, democracy is the government of the people, for the people, and by the people.
Yes.
And we can't say by the people when we are having less than 35% and 30%. Sometimes even less than 30% turnout in election. So you can't possibly, logically, say it's that government is a government by the people, because obviously the people who do not, the number of persons who didn't participate in the process are far greater than the number of people who participated in the process. And the bulwark, the hallmark of democracy, the excellence of democracy is that you have at least 80%, 70% of people coming, to participate in the electoral process.
Yes, I agree that with what we witnessed yesterday showed alarming voter apathy during the election in Anambra State. I also agree that it did not just start now. But over time, if you look at our yesteryears, Nigerians are not docile people, they are not challenged people, they are not people that are not concerned. They've always been there participating until 1993. That election that will never go in the minds of Nigerians. The election that was to have brought in Bashir M.K. Abiola as the president-elect of Nigeria. That was an election that cut across religious, tribal barriers and ethnic considerations, because even though the Abiola and his running mate were all Muslims, Christians never bothered. They voted for them in mass. People trooped out in their numbers and cast their votes. But then, that election was unfortunately annulled. And annulment created crisis. You know, that properties were destroyed, lives were lost, and all that. Thereafter, the subsequent elections have been coming, and Nigerians began to perceive or suspect that election results were being manipulated. And this even culminated that during the last general election, there were protests in Abuja, Federal Capital Territory, where some people gathered and would say that their votes must count. That their votes must count, which means that they voted. And they needed to be sure that the votes they had, as they casted, must count. Not that they were going to be manipulations. And even the complaints of IREV not, having a glitch and all those things made some Nigerians. I know some people that came out openly to say that they would never vote again in Nigeria because they don't believe in the system. They believe that some people somewhere are manipulating the electoral process for their favor. Some even say that others will tell their opponents, yes, if you are not happy with the result, go to court. We'll meet you in the court. With such things, then the government, seeing the pulse of the nation, gauging what people are saying, came up with a policy that was nipped in the bud. What was that policy? To make it compulsory, mandatory, that everybody who is of voting age must vote. Otherwise, you will be sanctioned, will be arrested and dealt with according to law. Of course, some of us say, no, that is wrong. Yes. You don't criminalize refusal to participate. What we need to do is not government coming with policy to make Nigerians to vote by force. What INEC and of course National Orientation Agency and every Nigerian needs to do is to let people know that there is still hope in having transparent, credible election. And that to get that, all hands must be on deck.
Yeah, but we've not seen a decisive move by the government on this. Because we have, like we said, when we have the US election, yes, we had a lot of turnout, but more than 80%. They make it possible for everybody to vote. Yes. In fact, their election is spread for so many days, for weeks. They have what they call mail-in ballots. They have what we call the sent ballot. They ensure that, because you can't say you have democracy when the participation is very, very low, abysmally low, less than 10. We had a presidential election where the winner got less than 9 million votes. And the other party is 6 million. So we are talking about less than 28 million votes in a country of more than 200 and something million. Yes. So that is even less than 10%.
Yes. Now, that is
how many are eligible voters?
If
we are, let us even assume that we are 250 million people in the country. How many people are eligible voters? How many are above 18? How many will be 18 in 2026? Or how many will be 18 by February 2027?
Even if we have 100 million.
I'm only saying that, look, he mentioned something about National Orientation Agency.
Yes.
And even and our Population Commission. Again, the INEC itself. Do we have this process in motion where people register of INEC or voters can be updated on a regular basis? Because people do think that everything to be done in this country has to be monetary based. They begin to think of how much to get from it, how much gain, how much money are they going to make from any venture of updating records of voters who must take a process where they contract them out.
Are you saying that people do not know that they are supposed to vote?
You are getting it wrong entirely. I'm saying I know that I'm supposed to vote. I have registered. All I need to do is when it gets to the time, I need to go back, perhaps confirm that my voter's card is still in the system. Because we've had a series of complaints where people who hitherto had their names in the register could not find their names. They were disenfranchised from voting.
Exactly. That's the point.
That's one of the reasons I'm saying that we don't have good bookkeeping. We don't have the equipment. Yes, we don't have the equipment to ensure continuity. If we started with the plain paper today, if you impute what I have in this paper into the computer, what I have today can only be input.
So what do you think is the reason for that? That's the question. Is it that the government do not want people to vote, or people do not want to vote? So that what do you think is the reason?
Even three. You see, one of those things is that, you see, people, I'm sorry, but that's the truth. It's bitter. It has to be said. People want to keep the government. It could be the local, it could be the state, it could even be the federal number. I'm putting it, so I'm saying it advisedly, that the government would not want majority of the people to know what their rights are. Would not want to know that, oh yes, you can stand your ground and ensure that your name is in the voters register.
So what I'm asking, are you saying that the government do not want people to vote?
I have said it. I said advisedly. I'm stating advisedly. You are saying it.
No, I'm asking you.
You are saying
I'm asking you.
But I'm saying what I'm saying. I'm saying that government sometimes would not want. And
because if government do not want people to vote, and because you know when Trump intervened in the military, said they are not supposed to intervene. So
I didn't say they are not supposed to intervene. Don't get me wrong. Don't let me go there. I'm only talking now in this regard of voters registration. I'm saying because people are getting more and more enlightened in this age of computer, in this age of modern gadgets, electronic gadgets, laptops, good phones. Even a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old operates a phone. I'm saying, and they have access to information. But do we have enough information on the net for them to access? Do we?
So whose fault is that?
The government.
So that's the government is the one preventing people from turning out for vote.
The government.
Are the people? They are the ones turning. They are the ones.
The government put information there. We can access it. See, you can make it very easy for you to update my register, the INEC register. What you need to put up, but it's still subject to manipulation. But then you have a register. You have a way of someone who has not attained, but who has not attained the age of 18. Go to social and so net or platform, upload your details, upload your credentials, put in your thumbprint, and then one that can be uploaded to the national data for registration of people who want to vote.
All right.
But that is not there. All right. It can be done. It's been there now. So many things.
Okay. So that's your opinion. The government is responsible for the low turnout of voters.
Principally responsible.
All right. And they can do something about it.
Government is principally responsible. I'm choosing my words advisedly. I said principally responsible because we have our own. Individuals have their issues. You understand? Now I'm saying that let us see.
And I said,
excuse me. Wait. You see, if you are complacent and you are not exercising your rights as you have it, then you allow morons to rule. And if morons begin to rule you, please keep your peace forever. Your mouth will be shut forever.
All right, because we are almost
exercise your rights.
We are almost out of time. So
Yes.
so he has made his submission that the government has a lot to do to ensure that, because the whole essence of democracy is
People having
participation.
the right to choose their leaders.
So many people participating.
Yes.
Majority of the people participating.
Exactly.
And when you have less than 20% of the eligible voters voting, it means that there's no popular participation in the election. And
Yes.
government should be embarrassed that
Yes.
we are having less than 20%, give them mandates to rule over everybody. And they ought to do everything within their power to ensure that there is popular mandate, because
Yes.
you also have people to key into their agenda.
Yes.
So you have talked about registration, all of that. Even those who are registered are frustrated. I voted in the last election. Before you see that the material comes late, you have to be on the queue from 7 a.m. to this, because they didn't create a lot of polling units. And this election is conducted in one day. In America, they have several days to ensure that so many people, both old people, they even take it to people who are in hospital to ensure that
They
vote.
participate. Yes, I know that there is still hope for a greater Nigeria. There is still hope for better electoral process. The new man who, good enough, is a lawyer, he's not advocate, he's a professor, he's an academic, has a lot to do, like I said earlier. What are those things? Want to ensure that the relevant electoral act and the constitution are amended to ensure that INEC is unbundled and better placed.
Going elsewhere.
A better place to conduct future elections. 2, there's need for INEC to show Nigerians that their votes will count, that they will be conducting free, credible, and fair elections. Because when before the previous election, not Anambra said the previous election that brought in the present government, where the Mahmoud, the former INEC chairman, Yakubu, assured Nigerians that with the deployment of technology in the process, there was going to be free and fair election. Nigerians were excited. Nigerians were happy. We are very hopeful. But eventually, when they told us that there was a glitch, and the glitch resulted in controversial election results, people just said, well, it's still the same old story.
All right,
so what we need to do is to be sure that Nigerians now know that not the same old story anymore.
All right, thank you very much. We are almost out of time. We would have loved to go on and on.
Almost, well, I'm not out.
Yeah, but because maybe just take some seconds, just few seconds to give you a final take before we call it a day.
You see?
Few seconds.
Politicians, stop being afraid. Be good. Show your worth. Make sure that money given to you is well expended in your
words.
In your words.
And constituency.
And God bless you.
Yes.
With that, you won't be afraid of you won't frustrate any amendment to the electorate to ensure that goodness and purposes of this election are well and get
and
well
my
to the populace.
All right, just few seconds.
Yes. Let American military come to Nigeria, collaborate with our people, and help us to solve the problem of terrorism.
All right.
And let the new INEC chairman use his people to ensure that there's substantial improvement in the electoral process. Once that is done, Nigerians are ready, willing to come and cast their votes at any election.
All right. Thank you, Barrister Oloraju, for gracing the show this evening. We are very, very happy with your insightful analysis. Thank you, Barrister Obiora, for your insightful analysis. We
All right.
really appreciate it. This is where we'll draw the curtain on today's episode on democracy and the rule of law. Please do well to follow us on all our social media channels, and also do well to tune in next week as we look at more trending topic.